Well, and his impact was very good on the police. He made sure that the inquiry was thoroughly conducted, so did Kelland, who was a good man. And I think he did a great job at the police, but I never met him. He didn't need me when he got all... It was a good team of police doing the investigation.
So do you know what happened to Humphreys, that he skipped the country and he was supposed to be... some of his men had cornered a guy called Peter Garforth, who was Rusty Humphreys. Do you know that story?
Yes.
Could you tell me that story?
Well, I'll tell you the allegations. Humphrey's wife had a boyfriend, Garforth, which I don't think Humphreys didn't like. He hadn't got much to complain about. He was not entirely innocent gentleman himself, but he is alleged to have attacked Garforth, and he denied it, and he always complained to me, when I met him afterwards, that he'd been framed because of his because he'd given evidence at the trial against the pawn trials against police. He told about things like buying exercise machines, bicycles for Drury and all sorts of things. And that he'd been framed for attacking his wife's lover because of his evidence on behalf of the police. He was, however, convicted and jailed. However, he was released after giving evidence, after the Home Secretary considered the evidence he'd given at the trial against Drury and against other police. He was released on the Home Secretary's prerogative. I know that because I met him from Maidstone Jail and interviewed him when he was released. So he was sentenced for an alleged attack on Garforth, but was released on the prerogative of the Home Secretary on account of his services at the jury, call it the jury trial.
The trial of the Dirty Squad.
Yes.
So, just wait for the aeroplane. You okay for time?
Well, I'm thinking my wife not to... I don't want to leave her up there too long in there. It's getting dark now.
I'll do 10 more minutes, is that okay?
Yeah.
10 more minutes?
Yes, okay, go on. But I'll end then because she's up there now on her own, and that's not good.
Yeah, okay. So, if you look back now, what do you think the impact of your publication was that day?
Well, surprisingly, as I've said, there was an element of not disbelief, because if the story had been wrong, the article had been wrong, where the paper would have had to pay up millions, and it wouldn't have been taxpayers' money like it was in the current cases. So I was surprised a little bit that there wasn't an immediate storm, although there was a considerable amount of amazement at it. But on the other hand, the police took resolute and clear action, particularly under Kelland and Mark, to take the matter very seriously, and the list of convictions at the end of the trial and the judge's comments about corruption from top to bottom of Scotland Yard, and that I think was more serious than just some public acclamation at the time.
It was all a bit embarrassing for Scotland Yard, though, wasn't it? Look at me here, please.
Yes, oh yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It was all a bit embarrassing for Scotland Yard.
Of course, yes. No, that it
If you
was.
could say it was embarrassing for Scotland Yard, I'd go on to talk about that.
Yeah, well, it was very embarrassing for Scotland Yard, and it was, if you like, the first real big revelation that Scotland Yard was not the Holy Virgin that had come out perhaps since the exposure of the Messina gang, which had started, but it was the first article ever to criticise the police. And I think the jury case was the first really big case that shook the public, although some of them were amazed at it and found it hard to believe. But it removed the veil of purity which the old-time cops had always had. As you know, you want to know the time, ask a policeman, they're trustworthy. It removed that spirit from the Yard.
So, obviously in 1969 there'd been the big Times revelation, a firm within the firm which had said that the corruption was more than a single bad apples, it was a group of bad apples. How do you compare your story to that? Had your story exposed, because the difference was that you'd exposed people going higher up the command level, hadn't you? Can you just tell me that? Because I think...
Yes, but it wasn't just the commander. He was, that made it sensational and added the tip of the spear, if you like. But we, in the interviews that our first reporters did on our second attack, many lesser policemen were involved as well, in the provinces as well as London. It involved a wider sphere than just the obscene squad, although they were in charge of it, because by the police practice at that time, all porn cases had to be referred to the obscene squad anyway. So they were in charge of it, but it wasn't just them.
What I'd just like you to get across for me, though, is that whereas the Times article had shown that there was a firm within the firm, but it would only... You'd exposed two commanders, Commander Wally Virgo and Commander Ken Drury, that the sense that the corruption in the Metropolitan Police was going higher and higher, that the public...
Yeah.
Can you give me a sense of that?
No, I think though we didn't name the further officers in that case, I think that the revelations of the corruption right at the top had a far greater impact than a story of one planting of material. I mean, the people had done stories about planting before without attracting much attention. The Times was a very good one. And I think what it was that that was the... not the camel the straw that broke the camel's back, it was the steamroller that broke the camel's back.
Could I just ask you to do one thing again for me, which is just say, we exposed a commander, but what we alluded to was that the corruption was going much wider and much deeper than anyone ever thought.
Yeah. Yes, we certainly exposed the star man at Scotland Yard, the head of the flying squad, but we also pointed to the fact that the corruption was in many other directions in different parts of the country and involving all ranks. That is not to say that all policemen, because they weren't, many are marvellous chaps, and respect them. But the web of the corruption, headed by such a big team at the Yard, and many of them, and many senior officers were jailed apart from the commanders, showed that there were too many rotten apples in the barrel.
Thank you, Laurie.